The blood had dried before anyone noticed. Not much, just a smear across the edge of the hall outside the south sparring ring. Near the weight racks, a place the cameras couldn't quite reach. The facility lights flickered once and stayed on. The buzzer wasn't blaring. No lockdown. No alert. Just silence. And Jason Statham in a navy jumpsuit mopping quietly. He moved slow, deliberate. Wrist tight, grip soft, like someone trained to clean up after ghosts. The mop slid through the congealed red and traced a clean line across the pale concrete. He dipped the end in a bucket that did slosh. Behind him, one boot stuck out from the edge of the utility closet. Motionless, the rest of the body hidden. Jason didn't look back. He just mopped. Over and over. Then the camera cut black. 3 days earlier, no one knew his name. He'd shown up with a crumpled ID, signed into the back desk at SEAL Facility 9. Civilian clearance, maintenance staff. Name George Harkin. Age 61. Background none on file, not unusual. He had a limp that didn't quite match the injury description. A habit of not talking unless asked something 3 times. And a scar running under the left side of his jaw, mostly covered. The junior instructor, Bauer, made a joke about it. Called him Uncle Clean. Jason didn't react. The next day, Bauer spilled his shake near the benches. Jason cleaned it with one swipe. Didn't say a word. Didn't ask for a thanks. Didn't flinch when Bauer fake-lunged at him. Guy probably used to wipe toilets in high schools, Bauer said. Others laughed. Jason kept mopping. The SEAL gym wasn't your average weight room. This one sat inside a cold-weather training center outside Fairbanks. Full-spectrum security clearance, biometric lockouts, 5 active squads rotating through at any given time. You couldn't even flush a urinal without a body scan. And somehow, Jason slipped through with a mop. Because he didn't raise alarms. He just lowered his presence. They assumed he was nothing because that's how he moved. He listened more than he spoke. Watched the drills. Timed the instructors. Memorized the shifts. And every night when the last light shut off, he mopped the mats 1 square at a time, eyes scanning the floor. Waiting. The third morning was different. They brought in a contractor. Private combat demo, SEALs versus foreign elite. Standard protocol, sparring without lethal contact. Jason watched from the corner of the weight room. No vest, no badge, just his mop. The combat ring filled with noise. Grunting impact. Instructor Bauer on the mic, narrating every blow like a podcast. Then it happened. One of the foreign fighters, 6'2", Algerian build, missed his timing, slipped. Hit the mat wrong. And in that half-second, Bauer stepped in and kicked him in the ribs. Hard. Not part of the drill. The guy curled. Didn't move. The room fell quiet. Then laughter from Bauer's side. Jason tilted his head. That was all. But someone saw it. A SEAL in training named Locke. 23, sharp reflexes, but more important, sharper instincts. He saw the janitor move. Just the neck. A roll of the mop wrist. And as Jason turned, Locke caught a glimpse under the collar. A black mark. Old ink. Coiled around the base of the neck like a centipede, wrapping itself under skin. Locke narrowed his eyes. Tattoo didn't match any branch icon he knew. Didn't look civilian either. Looked sanctioned. But the design was off-record. He approached later that afternoon. Jason was outside, rinsing the mop. Hey, George. Jason didn't answer. Locke cleared his throat. You ex-service? Jason looked up once. Then looked away. Just a janitor. But Locke wasn't convinced. He caught another glimpse of the mark when Jason leaned over. Definitely military. But not American. Not exactly. He said nothing. Just walked off. But something started ticking. That evening the footage was scrubbed. Someone had cleared the sparring cam logs before the Algerian fighter hit the mat. Facility command didn't ask why. But Jason noticed. He always noticed. He paused outside the surveillance room for a second. Leaned the mop handle gently against the wall. Then walked inside. No cameras in that hallway. Just him and a console. He typed for 4 seconds. Pulled the local backup. Found the missing seconds. Watched the impact. Watched Bauer's kick. Watched the look on the foreign fighter's face as his ribs cracked. Then deleted it again. This time completely. No trace. Except for one still image. Frozen. The moment Bauer's leg was extended, mid-kick. Jason saved that frame. To a blank drive. Then slipped it into his sock. Later that night, Bauer walked out of the locker room and found his gear bag missing. In its place, a paper towel. Folded. Inside a printed image. Of him kicking the fighter. Bauer's face twisted. He looked around, scanned the dark gym. No one. Except Jason, wiping down the mirror. Bauer didn't confront him. Not yet. But he made a note. And filed a complaint with facility ops. Janitor creeping on drills, might be unstable. The report went unread. At 3 a.m., someone accessed the restricted tactical locker without triggering the alarm. The entry logs never updated. But the contents shifted. 2 tranquilizer rounds missing. Not lethal. Just silencing. That same night, Locke couldn't sleep. He pulled an old SEAL black book from the archive shelf. Cross-referenced tattoos. Nothing matched. Until page 88. A redacted sketch. No title. Just a handwritten note. EXFIL, Widow Beekeeper Proxy. Below that a scribbled word. Unknown NONRCORDABILY. Back in the gym, the blood on the floor stayed unnoticed. Jason wiped the same square 3 times. Behind him, the utility closet door clicked shut. No footsteps, no voice. Just silence. And one less instructor on the schedule. Jason Statham was early. He always was. He arrived before dawn, when the only sound was the hum of cold ventilation and the drip-drip from the leaky pipe near the 3rd shower stall. The mop handle rested across his shoulder like a weightless rifle. Same uniform, same boots, same silence. But today the silence wasn't his alone. It followed him. Like someone else was walking behind him, but never close enough to be caught. He knew the pattern. Surveillance doesn't start loud. It starts slow. Bauer had slept 3 hours. Restless. Since the towel in the bag, he hadn't stopped thinking about the janitor. Not George, not anymore. He pulled Jason's intake file again. No social, no birth certificate, no photo ID. Just one attached note. Cleared by ops, no queries. He showed it to Lieutenant Mercer. Mercer shrugged. Contractor placement, we get ghosts sometimes. Bauer didn't like that word. Locke, meanwhile, wasn't talking. He kept watching. Every time Jason moved, he took note. How he mopped. How he paused before corners. How he never stepped into anyone's shadow. He asked another SEAL in training if they'd seen the guy's tattoo. The other guy laughed. You think Mop Boys got Special Forces, Inc.? Locke didn't answer. Because something about it wouldn't leave him alone. He knew the way ink spreads under certain kinds of skin, hard-earned, not decorative. And what he saw wasn't decorative. It was territorial. That night Bauer set a trap. He stayed late. Disabled the side hallway camera. Then left his combat boots accidentally in the wrong locker. He waited. Watched through the crack in the storage door. Jason entered just after 2 a.m. Mop in one hand. A folded towel in the other. He walked past the boots, stopped, then turned slightly. Bauer leaned forward. Then Jason turned and looked directly into the crack. No sound. No movement. Just a look. Bauer backed up like he'd been slapped. By the time he opened the door, Jason was gone. The boots were still there. But one of the laces had been cut. Clean. Surgically. The next day, Locke found Jason in the back utility shed. He approached cautiously. Morning. Jason didn't respond. Look, I just wanted to ask. Still nothing. You know Bauer's digging, right? Jason kept sorting cleaning rags. Locke stepped closer. I saw the mark, the tattoo, it's not SEAL but it's close. Was it Beekeeper? Jason didn't look at him. but his voice came low. No, older. Locke's breath caught. Older than beekeeper meant something else. Those units were dust. Ghost protocol, pre-digital, non-traceable. Jason turned slightly. The collar shifted. Locke saw the tattoo more clearly now. A spine of thorns twisting upward from the shoulder blade, with a black hexagon stitched into the base of the neck. Locke blinked. I've seen that once. Jason's voice didn't change. Where? In an embassy, years ago, a guy being escorted out in cuffs. He had it. They said he wasn't real. Jason met his eyes. I'm not. At that moment, alarms blared in the gym. Not drill alarms. Security breach. Red lights strobed across the hall. Locke and Jason didn't move. But across the campus, two vehicles slammed into the east access gate. Black SUVs. Unmarked. Men in matte tactical gear poured out, but they didn't head to the barracks. They moved toward the old armory, the one beneath the gym floor. No one had used that level in over a decade. But Jason had. Long ago. Before he erased himself. And now someone else had found it. Mercer hit the override. Seal scrambled. Bauer tried to follow, but Locke blocked him. Orders are for primary team only. Bauer left. Guy kicks one diplomat, and now he's Mr. Protocol. But Locke didn't budge. He turned toward Jason, who was already moving down the back hall. No exit that way. Jason didn't respond. He reached a panel hidden behind the shower unit. Pressed 4 numbers. The wall hissed, and a section slid open, revealing a vertical shaft lined with steel handholds. No light. No sound. Jason stepped in, then turned once toward Locke. You want to know who I am? Locke nodded. Jason started descending. Then follow. Below the SEAL gym was a place they never showed on the tour. A weapons archive. Not of rifles. Of knowledge. Hard drives. Photos. Bodies in freezer drawers labeled with initials. Jason dropped to the ground floor in silence. The lights flicked on automatically. Sensor triggered. One strip at a time. The place looked like a morgue. And in the center, under a plastic tarp, a chair. Bolted to the floor. With old restraints rusted to the sides. Jason walked to it. Stood in front of it. Locke landed behind him, breathing hard. What is this place? Jason stared at the chair. This is where they learned who I was. Locke swallowed. And now? Jason's voice didn't rise. They forgot. Upstairs, Mercer cornered Bauer. You filed a harassment report against the janitor. Bauer smirked. He's creeping around at night, leaving messages, probably got old PTSD or something. Mercer frowned. You ever wonder why someone with no past gets clearance here? Bauer blinked. Mercer tapped a folder on the table. Then walked away. Inside, a still frame from 30 years ago. An op in East Sudan. One soldier turned away from the camera. Bare neck. Same tattoo. In the archive room, Jason moved toward a wall of old lockers. Typed a code into one. Opened it. Inside, a faded uniform. Black. No flag. No insignia. Just a patch with a single word. Vain. He didn't take it out. Just closed the door again. Then turned to Locke. I was stationed here once, before you were born. Locke nodded slowly. They said your kind went rogue. Jason didn't blink. They made us rogue, then blamed us for remembering. Locke leaned against the wall. You gonna tell them what's down here? Jason stared at the chair again. No, but they'll come looking, and when they do, you won't want to be near me. Locke's breath hitched. Why? Jason stepped forward into the flickering light. The camera above the door turned slowly. Jason's neck glinted, the tattoo catching reflection like a scanner beam. Because I'm not the only thing that was buried down here. The first lockdown wasn't loud. No sirens, no alarms. Just a soft hum across the ventilation unit. Door sealed 10 seconds slower. Cameras blinked once, then resumed. At 08, 13 hours, the biometric access pads changed color from green to amber. Most of the facility staff didn't notice, but Jason Statham did. He paused mid-mop, wrist firm, and slowly glanced up toward the light fixture in the far corner of the mess hall. The bulb inside wasn't standard. Not anymore. It had a red thread of infrared woven through its curve. Old-world signal tech, hive grade. Someone was watching. Mercer stormed down the hall, past the indoor firing cage. He wasn't angry. He was rattled, because someone high above his clearance just requested a full personnel sweep, but only of George Harkin. Mercer pulled up the janitor's file again. Still nothing. Still that stamped clearance tag, level 0, do not query. But this time, when he tried to open the security access log, access DNID, he hadn't seen that message in years. Last time it happened, the entire base lost power for 8 minutes and a lieutenant colonel disappeared. He turned on his heel. Find luck now. Bauer wasn't with the rest of the SEALs. He was in the maintenance bay, trying to pry open the janitor's locker with a crowbar. The padlock looked cheap, but he couldn't get through it. No number pad. No keyhole. Just a small etched symbol above the latch, a black hexagon with 6 small notches inside. He stared at it. Tried cutting it. Nothing. Then it clicked. Not the lock, the lights. All at once the bay lights shut off. Complete darkness. For 3 seconds. Then one light came back on. Directly above him. And Jason was standing in the doorway. Bauer flinched. Look, I'm not scared of you, old man. Jason said nothing. He stepped forward. Bauer dropped the crowbar. You're not even supposed to be here, you know that. You don't even have a real name. Jason's boots didn't make a sound on the concrete. He stopped just before the light hit his face. I have a name. Bauer scoffed. Yeah, what is it? Jason stepped 1 inch further. And Bauer saw the tattoo clearly now, the thorn spine pattern, the hex at the base, and just below it, 3 faded letters. VNA. Bauer froze. You're one of them. Jason didn't nod. Didn't smile. He simply turned around. And walked out. The lights shut off again. 10 minutes later, the landing pad activated. Rotor noise cut through the air. A black military chopper, no insignia, no call sign, descended onto the helipad above the mess hall. 2 figures stepped out. One was a woman in a tactical coat, with her badge tucked inside her sleeve. The other was silent and massive. Gloved hands, face obscured. But the woman was in charge. She walked directly into the command wing, said 1 word to the entry officer, and the entire clearance board went black. She looked around and muttered, "Where is he?" Mercer stepped forward. "Ma'am, I don't know who authorized." She cut him off. "I didn't ask what you know, I asked where he is." In the sublevel archive, Jason stood alone now. Locke had left 20 minutes ago, reluctantly, after Jason gave him a USB and told him to leave it with the quartermaster's office if anything happened. The restraint chair sat in silence behind him. The lights flickered once. Then a small green LED lit up near the far wall. Jason moved toward it, placed his hand on the old biometric reader. Nothing happened. Then a quiet chime. "Welcome back, proxy identity reconfirmed." A hatch hissed open. Behind it, a vault. Inside, a single item. A smooth black canister. No labels. Just a faint pulse, like a heart beating once every 3 seconds. Jason reached for it. Meanwhile, Mercer escorted the black coat woman into the hall. They passed Bauer, who stood rigid, now pale. She didn't acknowledge him, but she saw the fear in his eyes, and ignored it. The moment she stepped near the gym corridor, she stopped. Jason was already walking toward her. No canister. No guard. No backup. Just him. The hallway went silent. They stared at each other for 5 seconds. Then she spoke. "You were never cleared to return." Jason answered calmly. "I wasn't here to return." She tilted her head. "You retrieved the canister." Jason didn't answer. She exhaled. "You know what that means." Jason nodded. I do, but they activated her. The woman's posture shifted slightly. You verified. Jason stepped forward. She remembered Morocco. The woman's eyes changed. From steel to pain. She was 6. Jason's voice didn't rise. They never should have used her. Behind her, the tall, silent man moved once, almost stepped forward. Jason looked at him. You brought R4. The woman answered. Protocol says I don't come alone. Jason stepped past them both. Protocol S broken. Back in the command wing, Locke handed the USB to the quartermaster. Where did you get this? The man asked. Locke stared him dead in the eye. You don't want to know. The man inserted it into a hardened terminal. A single image loaded. A child's drawing. Crude stick figures, a man with thorns, a girl with wide eyes. In the background, a fire. Under it, scrawled in thick red letters. I remembered. The quartermaster looked at Locke. What is this? Locke didn't blink. A warning. Jason returned to the janitor locker. Remove the jumpsuit. Underneath, a black compression shirt. Same one from 20 years ago. The locker opened for his touch. Inside, the canister. He held it once more. Then turned. Locke stood in the hallway, silent. You're leaving? Locke asked. Jason shook his head. I never came back. I came to finish something. Locke frowned. Finish what? Jason stared down at the canister. Proof. He held it up. Inside, this is everything they did, to her, to others. It activates when a child's panic reaches high thresholds. It buries memory, kills recall. That's why she forgot Morocco. That's why they put me here. Locke blinked. They put you here. Jason turned slowly. No, she did. From the shadows, the woman in the tactical coat appeared again. Her face now soft. This time, no command in her voice. Only understanding. Because if anyone could survive long enough to remember, it would be her. Jason walked past her. Locke followed. Where are we going? Jason didn't look back. Home, but not mine. The chopper didn't lift immediately. It just hovered on the pad, rotors idle, lights dark, as if waiting for the past to catch up before it took off. Jason Statham stood at its open bay, holding the canister. Locke was behind him, unsure if he was part of this anymore, or already marked for knowing too much. The woman in the tactical coat didn't board. She didn't need to. Her mission had ended the second the drawing was found. She was no longer hunting Jason. She was warning the world he'd woken up. And the child, too. Inside the SEAL gym, Mercer stood at the operations board, watching systems reset in silence. The lockdown was lifting. But his gut told him the danger hadn't passed. He reviewed the access logs again. Someone had viewed Jason's personnel file remotely, through a network not connected to any branch database. The IP led nowhere. But the access ID, classified 20 years ago. It belonged to a man who died in a burn room before the beekeeper program even started. Which meant it was someone from Vane. Back in the air, the chopper cleared the tree line. Below, frost-covered roads wound through wilderness like forgotten scars. Jason didn't speak. He just held the canister in his lap like it was fragile. Not because it would break, but because if it did, the world would remember things it had buried too deep. Locke finally asked, What happens now? Jason looked at him. You saw the drawing. Locke nodded. I don't get it. Why a picture? Why a kid? Jason stared forward again. Because memory isn't always digital. Some things only live in fear, and they made her afraid enough to forget until now. The chopper landed in a clearing near an abandoned town. Buildings covered in vines. Playground rusted. A single schoolhouse still standing. Jason stepped out with the canister. Locke followed, scanning the area. This was the town. Jason nodded. Codename Clover End. They walked through the broken gates. It wasn't a base. It was a cover. A place where children were taken to be turned into intelligence receptors. One of them, the girl, remembered fire. And Jason. But she'd forgotten her name. Until the system failed. They reached the schoolhouse. Jason paused at the door. He didn't open it. He placed the canister gently on the step. Locke frowned. "You're leaving it." Jason shook his head. "I'm giving it back." Then from inside, the sound of small feet. And a girl no older than 10 opened the door. Dark eyes, black hoodie, no fear. She looked at Jason like she'd seen him every night in her sleep. She said nothing, just reached down and picked up the canister. It pulsed once in her hands, like it recognized her. She turned and walked back inside. Closed the door. In the distance, a second chopper approached. Louder, faster. Jason turned to Locke. "They followed us." Locke's heart pounded. "Do we run?" Jason didn't move. "I don't." The woman in the hoodie would be the one they came for. But they wouldn't find her. Not again. Jason walked calmly toward the clearing. His hands empty now. The second chopper landed hard. 6 operators fanned out. Not SEALs. Not US. No insignias, no names. Just death. One of them raised a weapon. Jason stepped forward alone. Then stopped. No tension. No panic. Just a stare. The lead operator hesitated. Lowered the rifle an inch. "Identify," he barked. Jason turned slightly, exposing his neck. The tattoo. Every man in the squad froze. They weren't expecting him. They were told the vein protocol was defunct. Jason took one more step. "Stand down," the operator whispered. But the man behind him didn't. He fired. The shot didn't hit Jason. It never reached him. Because the bullet stopped midair. Literally. It hung for a half second, then fell to the ground. Dead. Jason didn't blink. Because she was watching now. From the schoolhouse window. The girl. The system was active again. The operators retreated without a word. One dropped a comms beacon as they fled. A single voice came through. "He's not just active, he's aligned." Jason walked back to Locke. "We won't be able to stay here." Locke looked pale. She's not normal." Jason turned slowly. She never was. Back at the SEAL gym, Mercer received the decrypted feed from the Black Chopper's comms unit. He played it 3 times. The same phrase repeated. Tattoo confirmed, proxy engaged, memory event triggered. He forwarded it to HQ. A red line appeared under the transmission. Error classified, do not archive. Then the screen blinked out. Everything was vanishing again. Mercer sat back in the chair and whispered to himself, "We weren't supposed to remember." 3 weeks later, the gym janitor's file was erased. The locker removed. The vault under the gym sealed with concrete. No mention of Vane. No mention of the girl. But one SEAL recruit Locke didn't forget. He left the program 2 days later. And vanished. Somewhere far off grid, a gas station TV flickers. Security footage plays. A young girl in a hoodie buys a candy bar. The cashier blinks. Jason is in the background drinking water, eyes on the door. The camera blinks again. They're gone.